Embracing water play is an excellent way to keep cool during the hot summer months of outdoor preschool. Water is an incredibly versatile, loose part. First of all, it engages all of the senses, right? And what you bring to it can create either fine or gross motor play. It can be an excellent way for children to explore math and science concepts as they dump, pour, watch things flow and change shape. And frankly, it's just fun. Hello, I'm Nicole Dravillas-Rabel, and this is Wildwood Teaching. And at Wildwood Nature School, we sprinkle water play throughout the summer. And then we even devote 1 week of our themed summer camps to water as an investigation topic. And so today I want to share some of my favorite ways to use water as a loose part. But before I get to that, I want to talk a little bit about water conservation. Very often in nature preschool, we are balancing the children's developmental needs with the needs of our environment. And we have a commitment as a nature-based program to sustainability. So we always have an eye on that, but we do know that children need the freedom to experiment and explore, and that's how they learn. So whenever possible, we like to use collected rainwater, and that's easy to do during our 8 or 9 months of the year where it's constantly raining. Not as easy to do when we have our 3 months of dry season. So during the summer, what I do is I generally fill something, whether that's the water table in the mud kitchen or whether that's a large plastic baby pool. I generally fill it before the day starts with whatever I've decided is our water for the day. And then I let the children know this is our water for the day, and I am not going to refill it, and I let them know why. We don't have to make it a big deal, but we're going to conserve water. It's a limited resource. And so this is what we have. It is a limited resource. And so sometimes that leads to a discussion, right? How are we going to problem solve transporting the water? If we want to take it from that baby pool to the sand pit or somewhere else, how are we going to transport it in a way that we don't lose any of the water? Or sometimes it's a negotiation for the children, right? How do we balance how somebody wants to use the water versus how somebody else wants to use the water, knowing that it's a limited resource? And this is good. This is problem solving and negotiation for the children. And then lastly, we do use our gray water. So when the children are finished with the water, if we do have anything left over in the containers, it is used to water the garden. And again, the children are part of that process. So they are starting to get an idea of how we conserve water. All right, enough of the preamble. Let's get to the ideas. So let's talk about motor skills first. And so the first thing I'm going to say is wash something. What's more fun than plain water? Water with bubbles. And you can wash anything. Some of the things that we've washed the plastic baby dolls. We've washed those big Tonka trucks where we have a car wash going, or any large plastic cars that you have. You can bring out paintbrushes or toothbrushes and wash rocks or shells. You can bring out sponges and wash the mud kitchen itself. Use your creativity. You will find something to wash. Oh, we've done dishes, right? We've done towels and sponges and washed, and we've had like a soapy water, wet water, washed and dried dishes, the towels to dry them. You can also, sorry, how far away from me, you can also paint with water, right? So get those large paintbrushes because you can paint on rocks and shells, absolutely, but it's a whole lot of fun if children have something large to paint on, like we often paint the playhouse, like a fence post, like what you see behind me, where they can use a larger motion. And then, I mean, the cool thing is that if it is a hot, sunny day, water is going to evaporate so they can keep painting and repainting the exact same place. And then that kind of leads us into some science ideas. Evaporation is an excellent science experiment. You can test how water evaporates in sunny areas versus shady areas. You can test how it evaporates on different materials, whether that's wood or metal or stone or plastic. What is happening to the water? And you can use paintbrush to do that. We like to use pipettes so that we are, sorry, my computer is talking to me. We like to use pipettes so that we are just taking water droplets on different surfaces and then watching them evaporate. Another science experiment that children are probably doing anyway at the water table is conservation of volume. So if you take different size and shapes of containers that children are using, and then realizing that as you pour and the water is changing shape, maybe it is long and skinny, maybe it's taller, but you still have the same amount of water. How does that happen? You can certainly make it a more formal experiment by talking the children through things, by creating some charts where they can track what they are doing. All right. Did you know that your water table could also be an avenue for literacy? So we've talked about how storytelling and story retelling are very important for developing children's vocabulary, for developing comprehension skills, for understanding book language. And then we've also talked about how dramatic play for young children is a form of storytelling. So when they are coming to your sensory table, to your mud kitchen, and they are acting out, we're a family, and so we're going to cook dinner, and just a minute, children, right? Don't worry, I know you're hungry, but the food is coming. But this is an act of storytelling by the children. But we can also include props that help children. So why not add those plastic animals or little Lego people, whatever you have, to the water area that allows them to expand into storytelling. Or bring out the books, right? Bring out the books, and some books that might lend themselves really easily to water play are books that have aquatic animals, like fish, penguins, or anything that is centered around a beach or a pool setting. Jabari Jumps is the story that comes to mind immediately for me, where you have the book that you've read and you have the book sitting there and you have little people figurines, maybe just a piece of bark that they can use as a diving board, and makes it very easy to retell the story of Jabari Jumps right in the water area. I do have, and I don't know if I'm actually going to use it, but I do have this bin filled with water that I thought might come in handy as a prop. I don't know if it will or not. We'll see. The other thing that you can do is you can draw letters with chalk. Right, so I can draw the first letter of my name, and then I can work to erase that letter. Is probably helpful if you have a slightly smaller paintbrush, because then they can use it almost like a pencil. And then they're practicing the grip as well. It does help if you notice, right? Like, you don't want the children to just run across it. So it does help if you have either mark making cards or letter cards next to it, and that you are facilitating it with the children. Maybe you demonstrate one where you're saying, we are going to practice actually tracing the chalk lines rather than just completely erasing the chalk lines, because that's what's going to get that motor memory, that muscle memory of how we form the letters. Now, if you want to take it into math, you can certainly do the same thing with numbers, where you're going to create numbers with the chalk and then erase them with the paintbrush. And I am going to use my handy dandy prop here. The one math skill that I think comes to mind immediately is measurement. Right? We already talked about it. You have all of your different containers that allow you to scoop and pour and measure things. But I think you can also be creative about the measurement tools that you are bringing into your water table. So go ahead and dump that balance right in your water table so that you can pour the water on either ends and watch the scale tip. Or go ahead and bring foam plastic numbers and some little plastic jewels, right? What if you have a container that floats on top of your water right there, right? How many rocks, pebbles, jewels can you add to it before it sinks to the bottom? Well, it looks like I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe you estimate. Maybe you estimate either with different materials or different sizes and shapes of containers that allow you to count as well as measuring. I'm going to move my water for a bit here and change a little bit so that I can show my art materials. So definitely you can use water to create art. And obviously, right, I've already said you can use a paintbrush to spread water on something. You can also use your shaved chalk and shave the chalk directly into the container, and then press paper down into the container, and it creates like a marbled art print. And so that's something that you can do right in your mud kitchen sensory area, right in the baby kitchen. You can also get either spray bottles filled with watercolor paints that are going to allow you to make negative prints or spray directly onto, say, trees, that where you're making the art right there. The other thing I like to do is take liquid watercolors, pipettes, squeeze the watercolor into the pipettes. And then I just have here, it's like a mini easel that I tape things to. Slant boards work well. Anything that allows the children to work straight up, right? And then you're creating a waterfall type of painting, or clouds and rain is what it's reminding me of. You can mix and match your paints And that's a way that you can bring art into it. Um, so I hope this gives you some ideas of how you can use the fact that it's warm, use the water to cool you down, and use it for many different types of learning activities, vacations in preschool. Try out some ideas. If you have some of your own, be sure to share them with us. You can comment directly under this video. You can go to our Facebook or Instagram pages. If you do get a newsletter, just respond to one of the newsletters. Let me know, hey, Nicole, this is how my children used one of your ideas, or this is some idea that we have of our own, and you'd like to share it with our outdoor learning community at Wildwood Teaching. And then be sure to join me here next week for another free episode of Wildwood Teaching, when I will be talking about books that you can use to learn about water as an ecosystem. So I will see you there.